Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bethany, and on this channel we talk about the false beliefs taught to women inside of the church, and we also shine a light on problematic Christian influencers. So if any of that resonates with you, go ahead and like this video, share it with a friend, and always be sure to subscribe if you would like to receive videos 12 to 24 hours early and exclusive content. Please check out my Patreon. Everything is in the description box below. Today, we're actually getting into a very recent story, and we're dipping our toes into true crime. And the only reason why we're talking about this is because it involves a pastor. So let's get into it. I came across this story yesterday, actually, and I really wanted to talk about it because it is very recent, like April recent. We're going to watch one video from a TikToker, and then we're going to read a few articles about the situation. So to give like a little synopsis, this pastor, on a Sunday morning, he gave his whole entire sermon, and then he said, instead of giving an altar call, I want everybody to stand up. I'm going to tell you something that has happened, and I want y'all to not speak about it, but then leave the church. And so he goes on to say that his wife had just died, and he received a call about it the day before, and that it was self-induced. And so even in that situation of him going to the church and preaching, I find that a little weird and suspicious in itself. The crazy thing is that his wife's friends and family all say that it was not self-induced. She was a very happy, joyful, loved the Lord person, and it was not self-induced. He made it sound like she had mental illness and she really struggled with her mental health, but her friends and family say otherwise. So we are going to watch this video. His TikTok account is the Robbie Harvey. He, from what I've gathered from his TikTok, he reports on a lot of celebrity things, weird kind of situations going on. And in my opinion, and from what I saw, he is just a reporter, it looks like. So we're going to watch this video.
At the end of service and after giving his sermon, this pastor makes a bizarre announcement.
We're not going to do an altar call today. Instead, I'm going to have you stand up, and I'm going to make an announcement. And after the announcement, I'm going to ask that you leave church quietly and don't talk about the announcement. I got a call late last night. My wife has passed away. And yeah, it was self-induced, and it was up in North Carolina.
This is Pastor John Paulmiller of Solid Rock at the Market Common Church in South Carolina. As you heard, the pastor said that his wife, Micamiller, did this herself. But there are a few things that the pastor failed to mention, like this. According to reports, the pastor was served with divorce papers just 48 hours before. And take a look at this. Weeks prior to her death, Micah uploaded a series of videos suggesting there was abuse.
I've had a lot of women that have reached out to me about situations of abuse. And I just want to tell you what a lot of people have told me. Male or female, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what gender you are. Abuse is abuse. And you are the bride of Christ. And my Bible says that he took all the abuse you could think of for you so that you didn't have to live that life of slavery and bondage and pain.
The pastor says Micah struggled with mental health for years. But friends of Micah says there's something more going on.
This has to be at least looked into deeply. There's got to be some accountability here. because, it's a tragic life was lost.
Though the pastor has announced the cause of death, investigators have not.
When your world is shook up, you need to take a pause. And I can only pray that more people will take a pause and I'm trying to get my priorities straight right now. And that's making sure that my heart doesn't have any unforgiveness, bitterness, resentment, just forgiveness and hope for the future and peace. Because you can't put a price on peace.
Whew. Ooh, that's a lot. We're going to read a few articles. I did Google this case and what was happening. So these were the two most popular articles that did come up. So we're going to read through them. Death of South Carolina pastor's wife under investigation as her family warns of false stories. North Carolina authorities are reportedly investigating the death of Micamiller, the 30-year-old wife of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina pastor John Paulmiller. Robson County officers reportedly located Miller's body on April 27th in Lumber River State Park, about an hour drive from Miller's hometown of Myrtle Beach, last weekend, and are investigating how she died, according to ABC. John Paul, however, told his congregation that his wife died by and that she had struggled with her mental health for years, but authorities have not released her official cause of death. She had struggled with suicide before. Each time we would help her through it and take her to the doctor, and we would get through it and everything was fine, John Paul told ABC 15. She gave a few testimonies here at church that we have on video. She battled, but God took care of her and got her through it. An obituary for Miller states that the 30-year-old woman was energetic, affirming, adventurous, faithful, loving, giving, forgiving, talented, joyous, creative, assertive, bold, determined, authoritative, passionate, hardworking, a risk taker, and so much more. However, Micah's loved ones on social media are noting one part of the obituary that strikes them as odd. Quote, she would praise her husband after every church service, telling him he was the best preacher in the world, even if it wasn't true. She also told him he was the funniest preacher in the world, even though that wasn't true. Micah loved her family so much, end quote. The Horry County's clerk's office in South Carolina confirmed to Fox News Digital that Micamiller had filed 3 different separate support and maintenance requests since last year. The latest filed on April 16th. Separate support and maintenance allows one spouse to receive court-ordered support from another spouse without officially divorcing. Since Micah's death, which has rocked the Myrtle Beach community, her family and friends have been sharing posts on social media with the hashtag Justice for Micah. Her sister pleaded with friends on social media to not listen to the false stories being shared about Micah. Micah was a God-fearing, joyful, loving woman who did not deserve the abuse she endured. If you hear anything about this from anyone other than her family, please question it. Reach out to her siblings or her parents, she wrote. Quote, I talked to her multiple times in her final week here on earth, end quote. Micah's friends wrote on Facebook, quote, she was making plans to get her hair cut, getting help with her car payment because she was a little short after paying her divorce lawyer, and planning to meet us for the second service at church on Sunday. My final text with her on Friday at 9:19 p.m. was a woman making plans to live. What happened between Friday night and Saturday, end quote. Okay, and let's go to this other article. I did choose the first one. I looked through several articles, and it just so happened that the first one from Fox News had a lot more detail, I thought, than the other ones that I had read. And I didn't want to read several to get little snippets of what had happened. Here's another one from New York Post. A South Carolina pastor claimed his wife of Saturday, 6 months after she filed for divorce. So she filed for divorce months before, but then he was served 48 hours before that Sunday service, as her family pleaded for police to deeply investigate the sudden death. Micamiller, 30, was found to have suffered a fatal gunshot to the head at Lombard River State Park in North Carolina, according to the local newspaper. Miller's husband, John Paulmiller, is the pastor of Solid Rock Church in Myrtle Beach, who broke the news of her death during a recent service after asking his congregation not to discuss it inside the church. Quote, I got a call late last night. My wife had passed away. It was self-induced. It was up in North Carolina, end quote. What we just heard, they're just quoting what he said. Friends of the pastor's late wife were taken aback over Micamiller's death and urged officials to look into it deeply. Quote, this has to be at least looked into deeply. There's got to be accountability here. And that's the video that we saw on the TikTok. McLean revealed that there was no indication of the community being in danger. Quote, she had struggled with suicide before. Each time we would help her through it. What we had read already. As the pastor claims, he and his wife, quote, spent every night together for hours just talking and talking and talking, end quote. Micamiller filed for divorce from her husband in October 2023, according to court records viewed by The Post. The case was dismissed in February, but a few days later, John Paulmiller filed for separate support and maintenance, seeking financial support as the couple were still legally married. In April, Micamiller also filed for separate support and maintenance with a hearing scheduled for June 5th. Her family is seeking #justice for Micah as they claim a no contact order and divorce was filed. Days before her death, according to Robsonian. Quote, we are devastated. Prayers appreciated. So she's the one who filed the no contact order and divorce was filed. Okay. Quote, there's a lot of talk already going on, so I want to set the record straight. Our sister Micamiller passed away yesterday. Please do not listen to false stories about what is shared about her. These are just the Facebook posts again from her family. Micamiller was remembered as energetic and adventurous, and she met her husband in 2009, and the two married in 2017, her obituary said. Kansas native Micah was the worship leader, graphics designer, youth leader, women's ministry leader, and pastor's assistant. One of Micamiller's final Facebook posts included her smiling in a selfie along with an eerie caption, quote, when terrible, terrible, terrible things happen to you, in parentheses, y'all know what I'm talking about, in parentheses, RPF, resting peace face, end quote. Okay. Wow. So that's a lot. I have my own suspicions. I know that y'all have your own suspicions as well. But here are my thoughts on this tragic death. In my opinion, the pastor is a walking red flag. Why would you even go to church when your wife passed away the day before? And it's so suspicious, in my opinion, that he would tell his congregation what he believes the cause of death was before the coroner even says anything, before they're actually like, hey, this is the cause of death, now this is shut, now you can have like your funeral, your whatever. Like, they didn't even, like, the police officers, the coroner, they didn't even come out with how she died exactly. And it's so weird that he would go to church and preach a sermon. You know how many people that pastor would have shaken hands with, would have hugged on, would have talked to, and people are like, so pastor, how are you doing? Can't wait for the sermon today. Oh, hey, blah, 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 and just goes on like normal and sits there during praise and worship when he knows that his wife had died the day before. Like, I understand. I am the one to understand that people grieve differently, but that's not it. In my opinion, that ain't it. Because if you are genuinely traumatized, and you would have been with her family, like, even if it is a in my opinion, even if it is a divorce, okay, let me say it this way. Even if it is a divorce, but it didn't have anything to do with abuse or anything that terrible, I feel like he would have gone to her family and been like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" However, for him not being with the family, that is still his family, even though they were about to get a divorce, I suppose. It tells me that there's something bigger that he was doing to her, that she had to endure in the relationship. Because if it is abuse, if it is something as terrible as abuse, I could see him not wanting to go with her family and to grieve with her family, because he probably knows that the family knows something. So here are my questions, and I really think should be uncovered throughout this whole thing. I mean, his text messages, his emails, of course, but was there another girl? Was there another woman that he was fancying over? Was there a life insurance policy on her? If the gun was still there, which I'd imagine if it wasn't there, that would be like a bigger situation. But what's the serial number on the gun, and who is that registered under? And in simply uncovering her correspondence to the husband, and just his text messages, his anything to anybody, I think that should be really uncovered. Because I'm telling you, if that you just would not go to church and talk to however many people, give them hugs, shake their hands, and then do a whole sermon, and then at the end say, "Oh, by the way, my wife died." Don't talk about it, and especially before the coroner has even said this was the actual cause of death. There are a lot of questions here, but I think those three things, if there's another woman, all of their text messages, correspondence, and if there's a life insurance policy, because they were still legally married. So if there was, unfortunately, he would get it. Okay, I really hope those police officers take the concern of the friends and family seriously. I'm gonna keep up with this. It's not, I don't think I can even say it's a case. Like, I'm gonna keep up with this death. If y'all see information before I do come out with another video, please email it to me or DM me. I'm going to do my very, very best to keep on top of this so I can report it back to you. Okay, I'm going to end it here, but I appreciate y'all so very much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.